Jonah Mercer refuses yet another marriage proposal. The woman accepts with resignation, having expected it. 20 rejections in 6 months have taught Jonah to stand perfectly still while disappointment moves around him. The next morning, a stranger appears at Jonah's gate. No carriage, no escort, no hopeful smile. She asks for nothing, which unsettles him more than any bride-seeker ever has. Northern Montana winter presses hard against the land. Jonah Mercer owns the largest cattle operation in the territory, land stretching farther than most can ride in a day. Wealth and expectation follow him. Inside the Mercer house, warmth comes from fire and money, not people. Jonah watches the latest carriage disappear down the drive, another father disappointed, another daughter sent home. Ben Holloway, Jonah's foreman, notes the curl girl has left. He suggests Jonah could use someone. Jonah dismisses him politely. A full house isn't the same as a full life. The Mercer estate was built to impress imported wood, polished stone, chandeliers hauled west at impossible cost. Every room announces success. Every room echoes. Jonah eats alone at a table meant for 20, sleeps on one side of a bed wide enough for a family. He tells himself this is choice, control, wisdom earned the hard way. Jonah had loved once, trusted once. He'd been engaged to a woman back east who admired ambition but not sacrifice. When duty pulled him to Montana, she stayed behind. Jonah returned alone and built an empire where heartbreak couldn't reach him. Morning comes gray and sharp. Ben returns with news. There's someone at the gate, but she isn't here for marriage. She came on horseback with a worn saddle, asking politely, saying she's looking for work. Ben reveals her name, Eliza Reed. Jonah, curious despite himself, agrees to speak with her in the kitchen in 10 minutes. Eliza Reed doesn't look like the others. She stands near the stove, hands folded, coat worn but clean. Her hair is braided simply. No powder, no practiced smile. Her eyes meet his without challenge or calculation. Eliza wants work whatever needs doing. She can cook, clean, manage supplies, work with horses. She reads, counts, doesn't drink or gossip, and will stay through winter. Her hands are calloused, capable. Eliza is from Pennsylvania, where her father farmed. Her husband died 3 years ago. The family she worked for is leaving for the East. She adds bluntly, it was not a good marriage. She's not looking for another. Eliza says she figured Jonah might appreciate someone who only wants wages. Maggie the cook agrees the house could use help. Jonah offers a 2-week trial with room, board, and standard wages. Eliza rolls up her sleeves and moves to help Maggie without waiting to be told. As Jonah steps back into the cold morning, something shifts inside him, a hairline crack in a wall he swore would never break. Eliza settles into the house quietly, like water finding its level. By the 3rd morning, the kitchen wakes before dawn. Bread rises, coffee steams, Maggie moves with less strain. Jonah notices how Eliza never lingers where she's not needed. She works until tasks complete themselves, then moves on. It unsettles him. Most people come with plans. Eliza comes with only effort. Jonah finds himself watching her from doorways and corners of rarely used rooms. The way she lifts heavy pots, organizes shelves, listens more than she speaks. She never asks him questions, and that bothers him more than flattery ever had. On the 4th day, trouble arrives. A new mare breaks a board and cuts herself badly. Jonah and the men ride hard to the barn to find Eliza already in the stall, calming the terrified animal. The doctor is out for hours. Jonah assesses the wound deep, ugly. He asks if Eliza can keep the mare calm. She meets his eyes, clear and unafraid. Yes. Jonah stitches while Eliza speaks steadily to the animal. When it's finished, Jonah tells Eliza she did well. She replies, so did you. Something passes between them, recognition, respect. That night, Jonah can't sleep. He wanders his own house like a guest, ending up in the library. Eliza is there, wrapped in a simple robe, hair loose for the first time, holding a book. They sit apart, fire crackling between them. Jonah says she handled the mare like someone who knows fear. Eliza observes, animals don't hide it. People do. Eliza shares about her husband. He never struck me, but he never saw me either. I learned how to disappear. It keeps the peace, or so you tell yourself. Jonah admits he built this place to disappear safely. Eliza responds, safety can become a cage. She tells him she doesn't want anything from him, but she won't pretend she doesn't see him. She leaves quietly. Jonah remains until the fire burns down. The next days bring a storm that traps everyone indoors. Snow piles high, wind howls. Eliza is everywhere fixing frozen pipes, carrying wood, sitting with a sick hand until the coughing eases. In the evenings, they find themselves in the same rooms without planning it, reading, accounting, sitting in silence that no longer feels empty. On the third night of the storm, Jonah notes that Eliza doesn't ask about his past. She replies she'll wait for him to tell her if he wants to or not. Either is his choice. He's never been offered that before. When the storm breaks, so does the fence lie. Cattle scatter. Jonah gathers the men and rides out before sunrise. Eliza appears at the door, already dressed, insisting on coming. Jonah refuses, it's dangerous. Eliza holds his gaze. So is living small. He relents, telling her to stay close. They ride for hours in brutal cold. On the return, Eliza's horse stumbles in a hidden drift. She falls. Jonah is off his horse before thought catches up, heart in his throat. He reaches her, shaken but alive. His hands are on her shoulders. She says softly, "Don't look at me like I broke." Jonah's truth slips out bare. "I don't want to lose you." They stare at each other, snow swirling around them. That night in the library, Jonah admits, "I've spent years making sure I never needed anyone. You've undone that without trying." Eliza steps closer. "Then maybe we stop pretending we're safe." He doesn't touch her. Not yet. But the distance between them is gone, and neither knows how to rebuild the wall. Morning arrives, thin and pale. Jonah sits with coffee he hasn't tasted. Eliza moves quietly nearby. The house breathes differently when she's awake. Neither speaks about the fall or the words that followed. Jonah works harder than usual, as if muscle could burn away feeling. It doesn't. He catches himself listening for Eliza's steps, watching for her shadow needing proof she's still there. Maggie corners Jonah near the pantry. "She's good for this house. And for you." When he tries to dismiss her, she warns, "I've seen men build walls before. Seen them rot behind them, too." That night in the library, Eliza observes, "You're thinking too loud." Jonah admits, "So are you." Eliza closes her book carefully. "I need to be clear. I didn't come here to be saved. And I didn't come to save you." She continues, "I can stay if we keep this honest. Or I can leave if you need your distance back. I won't do half spaces again." Jonah feels the urge to retreat but doesn't move. "I don't know how to do this being close without control." Eliza, "Neither do I. That doesn't mean we stop." From that night on, the house shifts. They don't declare anything. They don't touch beyond what work requires, but the space between them softens. Morning coffee becomes shared. Evenings find them reading in the same room. The ranch hands notice. "He smiles now," one says. "Not much," another replies. "But it's new." Ben watches the change with cautious approval. The past arrives uninvited. Henry Caldwell, a railroad man whose daughter Jonah rejected, stands too comfortably in the study with a proposal. Reduced shipping rates, Eastern connections, a partnership sealed by marriage. Caldwell says his daughter is prepared to reconsider. Jonah asks, what if she doesn't want to? Caldwell, "She understands what's best." Jonah steps closer. "Get out of my house." He refuses, transactions dressed as family. In the kitchen, Eliza stands composed. She heard enough. She asks if he's all right. He says yes. Jonah drinks too much, sleeps too little. He wakes before dawn to Eliza sitting on the bed's edge, fully dressed. She says she needs to say something, then will give him space. Eliza watched Caldwell offer everything he thinks matters and watched Jonah refuse without blinking. "You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of being chosen for the wrong reason." The truth lands hard. Eliza shares, "I was married to that. To being useful instead of wanted." Jonah begins to protest, but she says gently, "I know. That's why I'm still here." She stands. "But I need to know something. If I stay, will you keep pretending this is nothing?" He reaches for her wrist, stops halfway. "No." The word surprises them both. "I don't know what this is yet, but it's not nothing." Days pass. One evening, Jonah finds Eliza packing books into a crate. She's starting a school for the hands children winter lessons, reading, counting. She didn't ask because she didn't think he'd say no. He doesn't. Spring creeps in slowly. Snow thins to slush. Wind softens. The land breathes again. So does Jonah. The house no longer echoes. Doors open more often. Laughter appears where silence used to sit. Eliza's school begins in the kitchen. Children perch on benches with slates. Jonah passes by more than once just to hear the sound of learning. Eliza never looks up. She trusts he'll come when he wishes. One evening, Jonah finds Eliza on the library floor with papers spread around her, sleeves rolled, hair loose. He suggests she use the desk. She replies, "I like the floor." Feels honest. He sits across from her, close, too close to pretend otherwise. She's working on house accounts. You re-bleeding money on supplies you do in need, he calls it criticism. She agrees, it is. He watches her work calm precision confidence. She doesn't ask permission to belong. You could take this over, he says quietly. Eliza pauses. I already have. That night they sit longer than usual. Talk drifts childhood memories, books, failures, things neither had ever said aloud. When Eliza finally stands, Jonah catches her hand. She freezes. Stay, he says. Not a command, a request. She studies his face, searching, then nods. They sit on the sofa, not touching, close enough to feel heat. I'm afraid, Jonah says. So am I, of ruining this. Yes. Silence stretches. Then Eliza leans her head against his shoulder light. Careful. Jonah breathes. The first argument comes a week later. Jonah finds Eliza in the stable adjusting a saddle. He says sharply she shouldn't be out here alone. She counters she's worked with horses her whole life. That doesn't make it safe. Eliza replies too quickly, neither does loving someone. The word hangs between them. Jonah's face hardens. That's not what this is. Hurt flashes across her face. Then what is it? He has no answer. She walks away. The house feels hollow that night. Jonah sits alone, staring at walls that no longer comfort him. He's pushed her away with the same instinct that kept him alone for years. He finds her on the back porch, wrapped in a shawl. I'm not asking you to promise me anything, but I won't shrink to fit your fear. She continues. I don't know how to protect someone without caging them. Eliza faces him. Then stop trying to protect. Start trusting. He steps closer. I don't want to lose you. You might, she says softly. That's the cost. He nods. Then stay anyway. She searches his face, finds something there. She steps into his arms. They don't kiss. They simply hold each other, shaking. From that night on, they share a room, a bed. Not every night, not with urgency, with choice. They learn each other slowly. Jonah stops drinking alone. Eliza stops sleeping lightly. Peace comes in moments of small, earned. The letter arrives. Jonah holds an envelope carrying a name he hasn't spoken in years from his former fiancée. Eliza asks if he wants to read it alone. No. The letter is regret, apology, truth too late to matter. Jonah finishes and folds it carefully. I don't feel angry. Just finished, Eliza nods. Then you're free. He burns the letter in the fireplace, watches the past turn to ash. That night, Jonah doesn't ask, doesn't plan. He simply says it. Marry me. Eliza laughs softly through tears. That's not how you're supposed to do it. I don't care. She looks at him for a long time. Yes. For the first time, Jonah feels no fear in wanting something that could be taken away. They plan the wedding quietly, no church, no city guests. Just the people who live and work on the land. Eliza makes her own dress. The ceremony takes place under open sky. Jonah vows to see her, especially when it's not easy. Eliza vows to choose him without shrinking and stand beside him without losing herself. Years pass. They argue, face old wounds, grow together. Eliza expands the school. A child arrives, breaking something open in Jonah. They raise their children to say what they mean, not hide to keep peace. On the anniversary of Eliza's arrival, they stand at the gate together. Jonah reflects on how close he came to missing everything. Eliza, wanting nothing is just another way of being afraid. Jonah, and wanting honestly is how you live. Inside the Mercer home, warmth stays not because of wealth or walls, but because two people choose each other without armor every day.